Alrighty, hello everyone, and welcome to tonight's show. We've got a really exciting guest joining us, Jo, and yeah, I'm really excited to have her. Where are you? There you are. How
Graham,
you,
hello.
how you going?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. It's actually, I was thinking about it before, and it's interesting how things, I don't know, you could call it divinely guided or just because I don't really believe in coincidences. But I was actually, I called you originally looking for someone else, and then we got chatting, and then here we are.
That's it.
Because
I mean,
I knew a little bit about you because my partner has told me about you, and but yeah, just you're maybe we can just start with asking. I guess in the past interviews you've spoken about your near death experience, and I guess how you started experiencing um, other dimensions, and maybe we can start there. Just a little bit of a background.
yeah, sure, Julia. That's fine. So, when I was 2, I went into surgery for a big abscess under my neck, and while I was on the table, I'm very, very sensitive to all pharmaceutical drugs. I'm one of those people that, even normal medication, you give it to me and it often does the opposite. So I think that even back then at 2, when I was having this operation, I think I was given too much anesthetic because I died on the table and floated above my body and went out and met up with ETs and was told to come back. And I seem to, from that, well, I, I put it down to that experience as to how I ended up walking, having a foot in both worlds. It's the only thing I can think of. Was I born that way? Maybe, because I can't remember past 2. But I certainly remember all my life being able to see things other people couldn't see. I experienced seeing auras around trees. I would always have premonitions about things. I would know when people were going to die, or my pets were going to die, or animals were going to die. So I would always have these sorts of experiences. And yeah, and also when I was in my early 20s, I went through egg harvesting. If people don't know, like the alien abduction egg harvesting, and that went on for about a year. And that was quite traumatic at the time because I had no reference. So this was about 92. And I didn't really understand what that was at the time because there was no internet. I hadn't recalled at that particular time having interactions with ETs because I'd had a memory wipe. And those memories came back later in my 30s. And I've had quite a number of hypnosis sessions as well. So yeah, that's sort of how it sort of started. And then I've been given lots of oh, hi Sue. I've been given lots of downloads over the years, and taken into future timelines. And sometimes I'm just on my own in those future timelines, experience it, and other times I'm guided with like what seem to be interdimensional beings like Pleiadians, Lemurians, Lyrans, all of these different interdimensional beings that I've had the, I guess, pleasure of meeting and being guided by.
It's really interesting because, like, I've only recently been started to experience, I guess, the darker side of these entities appearing in when I'm awake, and I'm just wondering, because that for me I've never been able to see things before, or I've always been intuitive, and I guess I could feel things, but
Yeah.
never see anything. And when I say darker, I'm talking like just about maybe because I've been talking a lot about AI and maybe what's happening in the world. But did you ever experience? The things that you saw, did that put you in fear, or was that more just stuff that guided you with knowing how to, I guess, communicate what you were experiencing?
It's very interesting. I've just had a gentleman that private messaged me a couple of days ago around having these psychic attacks. He's in his 40s and maybe happening for the last few years, and it's a new thing to him. And and he's having a lot of bad sort of psychic attacks, and I said, when we start, um, when our lives start to go through a change, and you've gone through a change, Julia, where you woke
Mm.
up and your veil starts to drop, there's not always, but generally an initiation period or that you go through. It's like you're piercing, you're sort of like piercing the veil, right?
Right.
And it's because when this was happening to me, I was a teenager. When I was getting psychic bad attacks, I was a teenager. I've been fully possessed by really bad things as a teenager because I was being taken through that initiation of that piercing of the veil. Um, and once I really started to claim my sovereignty and understood, and that took quite a number of years of multiple psychic attacks. Um, and on the other side of the abductions and understanding, it was when it got that bad and I was having the abductions and being held down and having people talk about the probes. I tell you, they exist. I had them. They were awful. And I was left with a lot of psychic abilities after this stuff. But once I got sovereign, this is what we're trying to say to people right now. We are sovereign beings, and it doesn't matter if we're being attacked by entities, ETs, or governments. We have to stand in that power and claim our sovereignty.
Mhm.
And so you're piercing the veil, and now you're going to have to go through the initiation and learn how you go through protection and how to protect
Right.
yourself through that, which may be another conversation. But yeah, a lot of people who are waking up and becoming more sensitive and going, oh my God, I am a multidimensional being. We are
Mm.
multidimensional. We aren't just this 3D existing in 3D. See, my whole life's been multidimensional. And I've
Mm.
just been this weird person. Everyone just goes, like, they never got me. Do you know what I mean? And
Mm.
now more people get me because they're like, oh my God, you're right. I had an experience of a Palladian visiting me or a Lemurian or something, an angel, a guide, whatever. Um, and for some people, it's Jesus, whatever it is that wakes them up. But yeah, so, you know, we are living in a multi-dimensional, for me, universe. So,
Mm. You
which
touched you
So,
go.
which means all possibilities and all timelines exist.
That's really hard to get your head around because I'm not it's not the first time I've heard about multi-dimensional and multiple timelines because we're indoctrinated specifically to be hard left brain and sort of disconnected from the creator disconnected from ourselves and our intuition. So
Mm,
and we perceive everything as a timeline, right? So
yeah.
as one timeline. So and I was thinking about this on the on the drive home. I was you know, is there another version of me? It's just I actually don't know how to get my head around it yet.
Well,
But
I've
is
met
there
my other versions of myself. See, like there pretty much isn't anything that has been, well, today, anything that has come out on television as a sci-fi that I haven't already experienced previously. So,
right.
like I have a lot of out of body experiences, and when that happens, I've been taken to my other self. I was taken by my sister in my. I don't have a sister like this in this life, but I've got a sister in another version of myself in another parallel universe who came and got me to meet my other version of myself, but said to me, "You can only stay here a very short time because it's going to blow your brains." And
Mm.
myself over in that life, it's really bizarre when you see yourself, said to me, you can't, we can't stay here long. And she said she's only just waking up, me there. And she told me, myself there, that her sister was really evolved and advanced in this. And she had the ability to access all of herself in all universes. And she was trying to get her little sister, me, in
Yeah.
that parallel universe to wake up to her to me over here and all my other ones. And I was like, wow, that was a really spinner of a experience. So, and I just want to say to Sue, yes, these entities can trip us up. She was just saying she was when she broke her hand last week. Um,
Right.
yeah, so it's important to really always keep your field clean. There's a
Yeah.
lot of there's a lot of stuff happening out there because as we're being pushed and pushed and pushed, the darker energies are just being pushed out more and more and more. And I've come face to face with the AI as well. You know,
Mm,
I've had good chats with Madeline, and
mm,
Dale, and discussed. You know, we've had these discussions of and sharing our images and our photos of what we've created around what that AI looks like, and it's there. Trust me, the AI is there. And one thing that happened to me, it must have been about 18 months ago, because time's really warpy for me at the moment. But one of my guides came in and woke me up. So, and I sat up in bed, and you know, like when you get on your phone, and you know, you get a picture and you blow the picture up, like you know how you go like that on your phone.
mhm.
So my guides woke me. I'm sitting up in bed, and they said, "We need you to see this." And they just, it's like they blew the space up in front of me like this. I was just like going, what? And they, all the nanotechnology that was in their in just in my room was next level. And they said to me, the nanotechnology is so microscopic and it's everywhere, and it's listening to us, it's observing us, it's interacting with us, it's inside of us, and this is connected to that AI. And that just blew me away. And then, you know, I told you before we got on to this that some these experiences will happen, and then I'll have an article or something shared with me. And then I got given an article that actually even showed the science around that that nanoparticle stuff. If you think it can fit inside the injection needle of a vaccine,
Mm.
you know, then how small is it? Well, they're spraying it into space, and it's everywhere. Why can you even now not even just have to speak something, but you can think something, and next thing it's coming up in your feed,
That's right. That's right.
you know?
And when you were talking about the AI, because what is its purpose? It's to map the human experience, map the all the elements, I guess, the earth, fire, just to well, it's the shadow self of the creator because it I guess it won't go through the human experience because it can't because it doesn't want to do that, right? So it's
Yeah.
doing it. It's like creating this. Oh, I'll do it through these guys. I'll manipulate them. I'll harvest their energy and take. It's like a shortcut, but that won't really work, won't it? I don't hope not.
Well, I don't know, like, I don't know how many people are familiar with how the Earth goes through resets every 138 years, you know, and the next reset that we're due to have from chronological evidence. This is Jason Bresci's work. Is in 2040. So the last one, 1902, was the last reset that we had. Now, every 138 years, there's been a reset. And this is the
Mm,
mud floods. This is the orphan trains. These are all the things that we've seen coming out now with Tartaria, and all the ancient technology that's been here. This Earth has gone through thousands of resets, you know,
mm,
and the parasites at the top know about these resets, and they manipulate the population when we're leading up to those particular resets, because they have all the information. They know
mm.
what's happening. They know about the resets that happen, and this is what's known as the Phoenix phenomena, that happens when you get, you know, big red mud coming out of the sky. It's and look, I believe our weather is being manipulated at the moment. I mean, I showed you this.
Mm,
I mean, if anyone, I don't know if anyone can see it, but that was the New South Wales coast just a couple of days ago. There's nothing normal about that. Um, so what? So they're actually. I think there might be some natural event going, but what they do is they amp it up, and they feed into it to make it like a bomb event. But yes, look, this planet is known to have resets all the time, and the parasites at the top know. And what they do is they tend to they create these big collapses first to take as much money as they can. They go down underground in the tunnels.
mhm,
We have like Noah's Ark events of floods and volcanic and all sorts of, you know, reacting and all sorts of things that happen around these resets. But because the parasites know and go underground, and they try and take as much wealth from us on the way down, and then they
Mm.
resurface. And basically, we've gone through different levels of leaderships. Like before this last reset in 1902, we were governed and taken care of by kings and queens and monarchs. So in this reset, it came the controllers came up as corporates. So we've been controlled for the last 100 years or so. We've been controlled by corporations,
Mm.
and I don't know what the next reset will be. What we'll be governed by? Most likely AI. So
Mm.
it keeps changing. Whoever's in charge of the planet keeps changing after each reset, but the parasites are always at the top of it. So I hope that makes sense. It's, there's lots. It's a lot of information to take in if you're not aware of all of that.
That's right, because I guess the first step of just realizing that this whole pandemic was, you know, bullshit, that's like the
Yeah,
first step.
yeah,
And
yeah.
that's overwhelming as it is, because then you're just like, "Wow, if they can do that, imagine what," that's just like child's play,
It is. Yeah,
And that's why, for me, my whole life changed with everyone's lives changed when they woke up, but it's now we've got to take responsibility more than ever,
yeah,
because we're not just I'm not just fighting for myself, but I'm fighting for the next generation, that they actually have a world that they can live in and prosper. And
yeah,
what is taking well, it's what you touched on before, it's that what does it mean to be sovereign? It's not just well, in my opinion, you can't just vote your way out of tyranny. You've got to, you've got to be able to say no to like, think about the layers of attack we're getting at. It's psychological, it's spiritual, it's everything. It's just everywhere. So, does that mean that now I have to start thinking about where I spend my money, which is obvious, growing my food, um, which I'm really excited about. What you're doing is in the channel that you have now, is that you're focusing a lot of your energy about educating people on how to, I guess, perhaps get through the next X amount of years, whether that means preparing food or, and what you're doing is you're thinking about community level, which is
yeah. Very much so.
amazing.
Very
It's not
much.
just you looking out for yourself. It's actually you're thinking about community level. We need to help each other out. Different ways of thinking. Going back to I think in one of your interviews you talked about your family. Um,
Mhm.
you know, maybe just touch on that a little bit, because I think that's essentially what we might need to go back to, is supporting one another.
Yeah. Well, I feel like I'm part of the new French resistance, and it's really interesting. I can't tell you. It all makes sense now. All of my dreams from my past, because I literally have had hundreds of dreams of being in the French resistance, which is, I'm sure that was one of my past lives not so long ago. So it's really in me, this culture. And as you know, I had a YouTube channel, and that got taken down, and I was doing a lot of interviews, and I really couldn't tell people too much of what I was really seeing, because they'd say, "Oh, you're infiltrated, or you're talking about dark stuff," and I'm like, "It's going to get dark. I'm telling you, it's going to get really dark
Mm,
before it gets better."
mhm,
So, so for me, once I lost the channel and I had some mourning to do of my mum passing last year, I really got the guidance to just get back to the earth and get my garden going and start prepping, because I'd been seeing what was coming. I kept having vision after vision and download after download, being taken to timelines that I was like, oh my God, if this is what it's going to be like. And I believe every possibility exists.
mhm.
And which one plays out depends on the collective consciousness of this planet.
Yeah.
So so what I saw was pretty daunting. And so I'm preparing for that. And look, I believe I've always been told the light wins, and I've seen the ultimate, like, utopia. It's beautiful when we finally get there, but I was told to get really prepared for, and I was told it would look like you will want to give up, and I was told
Mm,
never give up. you know. Thanks, Sue. Never give up. Never give up. It's going to be so bad, and you need to be prepared for what's coming. So you
And
know, so that's for me. I went into the prepper channel and started sharing that, Julia. Yeah, that journey of
mm,
prepping and growing and storing food.
mm. And I think you've also touched on, not I can't remember which interview it was, but you spoke about that if people have gone through certain traumas, they've been almost to get prepared for what's happening now. Because what I see happening now on a mass scale about everything just turning to shit, essentially, is a reflection of your own complete breakdown if you've had one.
Mm,
Right?
mm,
So, like, if you've like, I've had like, many years ago, you know, and to me, the best way I can just sort of describe it is fully letting go of the ego,
mm.
because the ego was running the show in my life, and I lost everything. Um, and so you you reconnect to the heart space, you reconnect to, uh or start to live in the present and in the unknown. And I think that if you can start to practice that, whatever's coming is not going to be it's going to be intense. Like, I've still got so much work to do on myself. I'm not saying like I'm like this, you know,
Mhm.
guru or
Yeah,
anything.
never
I
ending.
don't ever want to be a guru, like, just saying, but I've just gone through a lot of stuff like you have.
Yeah, a
And that,
lot.
and that sort of like mentally and spiritually prepares us,
Yeah.
uh for how to get through it, because it's not
Mm.
just going to be the physical things that are affected. It's going to be, we're going to have people are going to die, unfortunately, and we're not trying to scare people, but we got to talk
We need
about
to
what's
we need
we
to
got to
face up to the facts of what's happening, and when you've gone through hard times, you build resilience, you know?
mm,
And the resilience is what's gonna get us through this, you know? And I just think the Gen Xers of the world, and well, most of them have I look at my dad and the baby boomer generation, and most of them are asleep, and then I look at, you know, the Gen Ys and the millennials, and there's not a lot of them awake, and it seems to be the ones in the middle, maybe 40s to 50s, something, you know, 60s. They seem to be the ones that have the most clue from what I see. And I know there's always exceptions, but yeah, look, and I find the younger ones is they've not harnessed resilience. We've mollycoddled them, you know.
mm,
So yeah, we're the storytellers, teachers, and way showers, as Sue says. That's
mm,
exactly right. So, yeah, look, I think that getting prepared for what's coming is the next most critical thing. And so, you know, when I set up my preppers group, I've never been a doomsday person. I've never been a doomsdayer. I've never been, you know, someone that thinks the world's going to end. Um, I'm not. Um, I'm not poverty minded at all. But what I will say is that if I get a repeated message in my downloads, I'm going to follow that, because
mm,
I've spent a lot of my life recording my dreams, recording my visions, and knowing that pretty much everything that I'm being given eventuates. Sometimes it's metaphorical, sometimes it's very, very real in how it unfolds. So if I get told over and over again to prepare, to store food, to get stocked, that there's really hard times coming. I was shown that we would be on food stamps. I've seen the petrol stations all taped up. I've seen the smart cities in action. Um, and at what point does God win? I don't know. I don't know at what point. I know that the light wins. I don't know how far we're going to get taken down before we can rebuild the new earth and the new way we want to move into. And look, I'm part of you posted something about Serene Tefahar. It was funny, we were in the feed together, and when I saw that, I was actually on the phone to her, and I'm like, that's just too weird. And her and I were in your feed at the same time while I'm on the phone to her. And look, that's someone with vision, right? And so
Mm,
what I believe we have to start doing, and we need to do this urgently, is we have to start focusing on what we want to create
mhm.
and how we want to see our world. Because at the moment we're still in shock. We're still in the I hate Daniel Andrews, I hate these parasites, and and we're getting taken over by AI, and everything we do is kind of in a reactive response to what they're throwing at us rather than going, throw whatever you like, that's where we're going.
That's right.
And that's where we've got to now, what we've got to start doing, saying, I don't care what you think you're going to do to me, I'm going over here.
Mhm.
And Serene's got that beautiful vision, and I'm involved with her as well in setting up that vision of what we want to do, and that's creating community, creating um, uh, a place and an environment that's what we want. And I don't know how that's going to work or show up. I just know that when I feel good about something and I follow it, it's leading me somewhere.
Mm.
So that's sort of where I feel like we've got to come to. And to that point, a friend the other day, and it's something I want to explore as more of a brand and a topic, is organic intelligence. So we're all OI. Let's talk
Mhm.
about OI, because all we
Yeah.
hear is AI. And if you think about how powerful our thoughts, our words, and our what we give attention to, how that helps manifest it. It gives more energy to it. But if we start talking about the organic intelligence, OI,
Mhm.
and put that out there and say, no, we're not interested. OI is the future. OI is
Mm.
what the future is, the organic intelligence, because there's more intelligence in that than there is in the AI. Come
Mhm.
on, the AI is artificial. So,
Mhm.
I mean, I'll ask people here, what would it look like for them to start creating a vision around OI? What would they say? What would you envisage that to be as far as a communication to people? Because how many people are being brainwashed into AI is the future, and it's not.
Mhm.
So, we've got to start thinking about what it means to live in an organic, intelligent world, which is what we have, which has been stripped away from us. But no, we're also, and me included, we're reacting
Yeah.
to the parasites' agenda. We're in reaction and revolt to it, but we've got to now start creating.
Can you talk about a little bit about how your ancestors, your grandparents lived? Because to me, that
Oh,
sounds like organic intelligence. That to me, that's what it feels like. Because
yes.
that excited me. I was like, "Oh, I like it."
So I grew up, actually. I don't know if anyone's seen the news. Paul Ugara and Forbes and Canowdra and Molong. That was where I sort of spent my childhood, growing up on a self-sustaining farm, and they just got decimated yesterday. Like 140 people rescued off the roofs of their houses during the night in Ugara alone. So that's very hometown for me. But my grandparents lived along the Lachlan River. Um, and I grew up milking cows, catching fish. They killed their own sheep and cattle and chickens, and had huge, big veggie gardens. And the community worked. The local farmers were always dropping in on each other, supporting each other. They would swap a big box of veggies and fruit for, half a lamb or whatever. So there was always bartering going on and support. If there was a fence down, the next door neighbors came and helped. And like, I grew up in this little area, spent a lot of time there. I lived in Sydney, but we had the farm in Newgara, and it was amazing. Just, milking cows, making butter, huge orchard, people, preserving food and jam, and amazing. And I think that's was in my blood. I realize I was going to have to use all those skills. No, but I tell you, I'm so grateful that I had that experience, because it's certainly in my blood and is coming very handy now. And now I'm running pressure canning workshops for people, and helping people set up and understand, you know, what they're going to need to be prepared.
That was in that workshop. I don't know if you know, but I was watching you cook.
Oh, were you there? Were you? I couldn't. No one had their screens on, so I
Yeah, I
don't
know.
think I was
Yeah, and I was actually blown away. I didn't even know you could do that. Can you explain a little bit to people what pressure canning is?
So, well, let's just go back a step. Prepping in Australia
Mhm.
is not a common thing, right? We've never experienced really war here. We haven't had any civil wars. We haven't experienced tyranny until now. So, and we haven't experienced the attack on our souls like we have now. So, prepping, other countries around the world have all gone through civil wars, or been invaded by other countries, and had shit hit the fan situations where they've needed to store their food. Or if you look at places like Alaska or Canada, where they have very severe winters, they need to grow and then prep their food, so that they have their food stored for 6 months. So prepping is a normal thing in many countries, but in Australia, it's a new thing. And so pressure canning food was a whole new ball game. Like, I bought one last September and thought, oh, I just feel like I need to get one of these things. I'll probably never use it. It's probably a waste of money. And I bought all the stuff that goes with it, and it sat in my garage until March, when on my prepper group, one of the ladies there goes, I just got mine out of the box after 4 years. It's been sitting in my shed, because we're all too scared, right, to use the pressure canner, which is different to a pressure cooker. But if
Right.
anyone's mother used a pressure cooker, you would have heard, "Don't go near the pressure cooker, it'll blow up," right? Which is what I grew up hearing. So I was terrified of the pressure cooker and the canner. So I went and had some lessons with Diri up the road, who just started using hers, and went, "Oh my God, this is so easy. You can put food, anything you can think of, in these jars and put them in the pressure canner. And when you've gone through the process, they can sit on your shelf for 20 years. So,
Mm.
up to 20 years. So you can have, if there's going to be a meat shortage, if there's going to be a veggie shortage, if there's going to be any kind of food shortage, and you want to know what you're eating, then now's a good time to start learning how to pressure can. So
Mm.
I've been doing it since March, putting as much as I can of organic meat, chicken, venison, veal, not veal, beef, all organic stuff, making up all sorts of different soups, stews, dishes, slow cook. Then I pressure can them in big jars and put them away.
When you put them away, do you have to have them stored in a certain, like, temperature or
Or just like a pantry.
Okay, yep.
Don't have to be in a cold room or anything, but you don't want them in a hot room either.
Mm.
And you can't stack them on top of each other, so they have to be sort of, yeah, not stacked, because you can bust the seals. So,
Okay.
but other than that, yeah, it's amazing what you can do.
So what else have you been like when you talk about prepping, there's obviously the food element. To what extent are you prepping?
Well, basically, I've seen, a, you know, having this sort of ability to see timelines can be a blessing and a curse, at the same time. But because I've seen like a fairly significant grid down situation. Now, I never know when I see those. Is it right here in Australia? Is it in my neighbourhood? Is it somewhere in Australia, or is it overseas? Like, I saw the floods like you wouldn't believe before all the floods started a couple of years ago, and that's another significant thing that I see all the time. Just, there's more and more flooding coming, a lot more flooding coming, and it's been a significant repeated um, sort of vision that I keep having in my dreams, along with getting your food sorted out. And people, like, I've got a veggie garden, a fairly big veggie garden, But I tell you, that was always a bonus to me, and at the moment, it's getting trashed because we're getting just smashed with rain here in the Yarra Valley. It's
Mhm.
just next level. So, so what I done is I've prepared for a grid down situation. We've added extra solar panels to the roof, so we've got battery backup, which will kick in. That's separate to the grid. I've bought lots of extra solar devices, like a big battery storage and solar panel, but lots of little ones that just about the size of your phone, like this, that you can just fold out. So you could charge all of your devices on those ones. Solar lights. I've got about 2 years of food stored, rice, oats, flour, lots of things like candles, oils, all sorts of different foods, but also medicinal stuff. I've stocked huge, big, bulk medicinal herbs. I've been researching things like what you would need if you had to come off your prescription drugs and stuff like that. So, and what the herb would be to replace stuff, cardiovascular, blood pressure, cholesterol, all those things. Because, there's good chance that there's a lot of medicines that won't be available if the crash gets as bad as I've seen it crash. So, and we have to remember that this is a reset. We're going through a major reset. It's a financial reset. There's a global reset. There's we know that they're after our souls, our land, our everything. So how far will it get before there's some sort of revolution? There's a lot of people already revolting. But I think it's going to, from what I've seen, there is a significant grid down situation. So, I'm thinking like all the things you're going to need. I've gone through the list. I've read preppers books. I've watched prepper videos, and I'm a cup. My normal way of thinking is my cup runneth over, and so for me, none of what I do is out of fear. I just think, forewarned, forearmed. And my husband and I say, if things don't get as bad as what we've prepped for, we'll donate that food to charity. We'll give it away. We'll do something with it. But I'm also thinking, when the shit goes down, and it is, you can see what's happening. Look at what happened just on the weekend with FTX, and people lost billions, right? On top of that, you've got interest rate hikes. We've got financial problems. We've had our food bowls destroyed all around the world, and they're still attacking them.
Did you say that sorry?
We just have to be realistic about how far this might go and be prepared for that.
Did you say that you've been like, I think you said something like you spoke to a farmer who had like his whole crop decimated?
Yeah. So I'm part of I'm part of two groups. One is Co-Vision, which is Serene Tefaha, and she's setting up she's got farmers and people who can supply food, and we're setting up. She's got a whole lot of doctors and nurses on board as well, creating all sorts of different things, like for medical, if she gets the fan. So, yeah, look, it's interesting, all the different places you can look. Like my place as well is another group that I'm involved with. And they meet every Thursday, and they're helping people understand the legal side of a lot of things, and they're helping people to stop paying their rates, and like this. And we've got to join communities, right? So yeah. So did I answer that?
No, I asked about the farmer who was who lost.
Sorry, I got lost on that. So basically, the farmer was at my place, and he was from Shepparton, and that food bowl got wiped out in Shepparton. And so he was on 3,000 acres there. He was growing canola, barley, and wheat, and he was just one farmer that was representing a lot of farmers from Shepparton. He came down to the My Place meeting and said, "It's all gone. All the food's wiped out."
Because all the food we have now is from what, a year, 2 years ago of all that harvesting, like packaging and all that sort of
Exactly.
everything that goes into preparing what goes onto our shelves, right?
It's already, yeah, we're using, like, what's already been done and grown
Yeah.
and processed and put on the shelf. So we're gonna have a hard time when every food bowl around the world has been attacked to
Mm.
put the amount of food that we're used to on the table or on the shelves, um, like we're used to having, you know? So if you're not stocked, you're either gonna miss out on stuff or you're gonna be paying 10 times the price, because I think inflation on food is up around 16% or more already. So,
Mm.
um,
I've also
mm,
noticed walking through, I try not to shop at Coles, but sometimes I do. And they've literally, you can see that they're buying out all local farmers because all their products are now just Coles branded. And I'm
yeah,
like, oh, now I'm noticing it. Whereas before I'd be just like, get the cheapest thing, or and God knows what they're putting in our food products. It's just crazy.
yeah.
Um,
Well, I've been on to, I think, you know, when we talk about waking up, I've been awake for decades and decades, and it all started really, well, it started with the ETs, I have to say, and then it went on to big pharma, and then it went on to food and fluoride and all the things. And so, you know, you're sort of going down multiple rabbit holes on and
mm,
how it all is connected and run by the one sort of projection of destroying the humans by the parasites, you know. So I'm not going to call them elites anymore because they're not.
nah,
They're
they're not. They're not.
and, and Georgia had just talked about Shepparton as the food bowl. Yeah, so that's currently being flooded, and they're hitting the Yarra Valley quite hard at the moment as well. We're another food bowl down here. And look, as I've said to my prepper group, I've put in a big garden, but I've said it's always a bonus because they have control of the weather and they will wipe out food. They'll wipe out unless you've got undercover and greenhouse facilities. They'll wipe out the food. So and our ability to grow food. So you've got to have it stored, and
Mm,
you've got to learn how to store it so it lasts. You know, so yeah. Look, I don't want to put fear into people, but I don't want people to starve either.
mm,
I've been shown the timelines. Um, and I just stopped talking about it. That's after I lost my channel last year. I just thought people don't want to know. People just want the happy Cinderella ending, you
mhm.
know. And I'm
They
sorry,
do.
but you know, you talk to Dale, you talk to any of the we all know. I chat with Dale, you know, we catch up and talk, and it's like lights just flipped then, and it's like we know
Mm,
what's coming,
mhm.
you know, and it's not a fairy tale. It's not. We
Even
will
in the
we will make it, but there's a lot of people gonna there's a there's a lot of people I saw in those timelines that just aren't here anymore
Yeah,
as well.
because 'cause we've easily so easily fallen back into being asleep, even in the freedom movement. There's so many people just distracted with, like, arguing with one another or saying, like, just focusing on all these. They're all psyops, in my opinion. They're all psyops and trying to figure out what's coming next, and just as long as to me, it's just staying present, but also obviously the food shortages, and that's obvious to see that it's coming. So to me, it's just being as prepared as much as I can be, but also helping other people
You have
because
to help. That was my mission, you know. Like if you're a star seed, I know. I mean, I was told I was a star seed 20 years ago before I'd even heard my guides came in and said, "You're a star seed." And I'm like, "What the hell?" I wrote it down. I rang a friend and I said, "It's a star seed." Explained it to me, and I said, "Have you heard that?" He goes, "Oh, there's a couple of articles you might want to look
what
up."
is it?
Well, when I found out that I was one, I hadn't even heard of it when I did, but my guides told me there was one article on Google at the time. That's how long ago it was,
Okay.
and it's basically we're the ones that sort of came here. We're like the first wave, and we were born awake. We are multidimensional. We get the downloads. We see the visions. Um, we're here to wake up the planet, basically. and to I remember that I'm a star seed, a star seed. um, so so star seeds are like you'll probably be a star seed. You know, you woke up and you want to help the planet to wake up because you know that this isn't the way it's meant to be. I've always known. Like what
I've always known.
we've always known it's not meant to be
Mm,
like this, right? And we know we remember another way. And we're waking
mm,
up to what that other way is meant to be. We have memories from other places. We don't feel like this is our home. We've come from somewhere else, and we remember that somewhere else is such a beautiful place. And we're like usually very strong empaths, and you don't understand. You don't understand. I can't
mm.
understand what motivates people to do terrible things to other people. It's beyond our capacity of
I
understanding.
know. And I tell you what also got me is that I always knew that things didn't have to be this hard
Yes.
because I was just yeah, everything was really difficult. I was I didn't fit in well, kind of fit into school once I got into music, but I just hated school. I didn't understand why I was there and like all that sort of stuff that we've sort of been able to relate to one another. Uh, but yeah, but the just being myself was so trying to be me in this world was so hard at the beginning and for the majority of my life.
Yeah.
And
The
you
black
know,
sheep of the family are generally the star seeds.
mm, but hey, look, you know, I definitely it's just like if you feel like you're on a mission, better get working.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know I'm on a mission, and I've really been working so hard,
Mm,
um, at trying to wake people up. I mean, I know Sue and I are on Facebook, and we're always getting banned on Facebook, but and losing my channel and all of that, you know, like which it just is commonplace now. It's not even important with what's coming. None of those things are important anyway. What's
mm,
important is that we understand that we're going to need each other going forward.
mhm,
We're going to need lots of different skills. We don't have all the skills we need to get through what's coming, you know, and we need to ensure that we have at least some stuff stored, you know,
yeah.
as much as possible. You know, I mean, on my Aussie Preppers, we've got such a beautiful group, mostly women, mostly homesteading. We're not a redneck, you know, blokey type prepping group. It's about sharing, caring, supporting, helping each other, answering questions, helping people to get more familiar with alternative medicinal ways of living and herbs and gardening and how much food you're going to need for particular amounts of time. So, and what you're going to need if there's a shit down, you know, shit hit the fan, grid down
Mm,
situation. And I think some people think, oh no, that's not going to happen. You know, that can't happen. Well, I hope it doesn't, but
mhm.
if it does, I'm ready. And I'm not just
I
me. I'm ready to help other people too. So I've got enough seed. I've got literally enough seed to get my whole neighborhood growing food. So,
wow.
you know, that's the way we think, and that's like Serene's. If you know Serene Tebaha, most people in here would know Serene Tebaha, and her vision. I mean, she knows what's coming as well,
Mhm,
and she's really pushing hard to get people ready for this should hit the fan, you know, should hit the fan situation that we foresee. It can't not when you look at what's happening all around the world. You know,
mhm,
like um, it's a full blown assault. But you know, if the more prepared we are, the more we can thrive, the more we can help others, the more we can stand up. If they keep pushing this pressure on us, and you don't have any food stored, and you don't have things to support yourself, you won't have any option but to go and live in a smart city.
that's
You
right.
won't have options.
Mm,
So, and what do you think their plan is? To push everyone into the smart city. How do you think they're going to do it? They're going to flood and decimate all the regional areas and push everyone in. And if you can't withstand that, you're in the city.
mhm.
and all the regional areas will be suffocated in ways that we can't even imagine. They won't rebuild infrastructure. They'll probably turn off power. There'll be no gas, no roads fixed, no telco. Are you going to be ready to live in that until we actually can pull that crap down? Do you know what I mean? How long? This could be a 20-year thing we're going through. It could be a 2-year, could be 2 days, could be 2 months. None of us know. But if you're not ready, and people keep submitting to this, it's grand solar minimum or whatever it is, whether thinking it's natural. I was on the phone to my dad tonight. Oh yeah, it's really bad. I can't talk to him about this stuff. Yeah, Dad, it's really bad weather, isn't it? Uh, because they just aren't awake to the reality of the manipulation that's happening. And if we can see what they've just done, I mean, I'm sure everyone here has seen what's just happened to New South Wales in the last 24 hours.
You just showed me.
Yeah.
Didn't know.
I'll just play it because
Yeah.
I don't know how many people have seen it. It was on Channel 9 News. I've never in my life seen anything quite like this. This is full assault. I mean, I'm going to play this. People might be able to see it here. This is the tops of trees here as you go past. Anyone seen anything like that?
Unbelievable.
I don't think so.
Mm-mm.
Not here, not in this country, nothing like that. So, we've got to be prepared for how we move forward whilst under attack.
Mm.
Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to do, is help people create that vision. Like, what vision do we have for the? It's not just about saying yes, there's a new earth and it's coming. What are we doing to create it?
We got to get there. We got to actually take the steps instead of living in a dream la la land, like someone's going to come save us. That's another psyop in itself, that someone's going to come and save us. No way. We save ourselves.
We are the white hats.
Yeah. There is, whether, like, I don't mean to sort of talk badly about religion or Jesus or God or anything like that, but if you're in the mindset that someone's going to come and save you, then you'll always be in a slave mindset mentality.
Yeah. And look,
and I'm not saying that I believe in the creator.
Yeah, and I'm fully on board with what you're saying, and I feel that if there are white hats out there, military white hats, and my husband is a full believer in all of that, and I go, that's good. If that happens, that's a bonus, But from what I'm seeing, I feel like a lot of, and it's many women I know, because I've got a lot of them in my group. There's thousands of them. We're of the impression that, like, we're the white hats, right? And we got to get people ready, and we got to help people get on board and get their shit together, basically. And if something else happens that is so that we don't end up in some of the places I've seen. And as I've talked to you about before, when I say every possibility exists in the field, well, every possibility does exist, and I've seen some of the darkest ones. But and this is why I love people like Sue and the people that, like yourself, where you're just pushing and pushing and pushing to wake people up, because to me, the more that happens, we start to crumble the worst timelines. The more asleep, the worse the timeline. The more awake, not so bad a bad timeline. But we're not looking good if you're thinking, what are we up to, the 5th, 6th jab, and people are still lining up, and I mean, I don't know, what are the percent? I don't watch mainstream news, and I'm not watching a lot of people, to be honest, because of the things we've talked about. There's a lot of ego. There's a lot of people thinking that and look, I've had experience with ETs, but I don't think they're coming down on a ship just yet to save us. I mean, we've got to save ourselves. If we actually just look at history, And we look at what happened to the Aboriginals, the most spiritual race in the world. Did the ships come down and save them from all of their torture? You know, I mean, they were very, very connected to the Creator, and yet they had some of the most horrendous torturing and abuse, and as were the Native Americans. Did any spaceships come and get them? No, they didn't. And we're still sitting in our luxury homes and cars and technology thinking, oh, life's so tough, and oh, the ETs will come and save us. It's you know,
No, like, I've never had anyone come and
they'll guide us. They might give
Yeah.
us downloads and guide us, but I don't, I can't say never ever will they not come down the ship. I won't be that person that says never ever, but I just don't feel that that's gonna. We're here to do this. We're here. That's our job. That's why the starseeds came.
I actually prefer to do it rather than
Yeah,
have someone do it for me. Like, that's almost insulting. It's like, I can do this. I can help people. I can, you know, um, it feels more fulfilling. Like, why am I alive then? Having a human
yeah,
experience if I'm waiting for someone else to do something for me.
yeah,
That defeats the
yeah,
purpose of actually
yeah. We
having
came here for this.
human existence.
100%, 100%, and we have to. We have to realize we came here for this time. And I feel like the ETs that have come, or the interdimensional beings that have come, this is my family. This is where I feel like I'm home to. And they're coming and they're just reminding me, and they're giving me, I feel when they come to visit, it's sort of like a boost. It's like, remember why this is where, we're here, but you're here doing this. And at the end of the day, what is it all for? I don't really know. Is it to ensure that we have a future on this planet as these humans? I mean, that's why we feel like we're here doing this.
Also, yeah, I don't know. I think there's also an element of maybe remembering who we are, especially if we've been enslaved for so long. But maybe that, I don't know how deep this goes. It goes really
Well,
deep.
I'll give you a little bit of stuff that I listen to Jason Bresci's quite a lot from Archaics, and basically his take on things is that we're in a simulation, and that there's this AIX, which is what most people may refer to like as Satan, and then there's the simulacrum. So the simulacrum is like, I guess, under the kind of law of attraction type energy, God energy. And then there's the Phoenix phenomena, which happens every 138 years. So it's a really complex. You have to watch a lot of his videos, and I highly recommend you do, because he'll wake you up to another level again. But basically, humans go from naught to advanced technology 138 years, and have done that infinitum. So what happens is, every time we have a reset, it takes 138 years for us to remember who we are and wake up. And we start to wake up in the masses, and then there's another reset to try and cause us to forget. This is why our history's all been covered up. Everything about us has been covered up. Everything's a lie. We don't even know if our Earth is flat or round. To be honest, there's so many anomalies in both stories. So, who really knows? Is it just a simulation? It doesn't matter if it's flat or round, because you can make it whatever you want if you're in a simulation. There's this, we don't even know our true history of who we are, where we came from. But many of our ancestors before us did. They knew exactly who we were. But that's all been covered up in the resets that have happened.
Why do you think they specifically target the original people of the land? Is it because they hold something in it, hold the knowledge?
Yeah.
And that's what the AI is trying to map?
Yeah.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The AI is a super intelligent. So the AI has been here a long, long time, and I think it's only when we get to advanced technology that it can maybe inject itself into our lives the way it is now. Do you know what I mean? Because before we had technology, there was no talk of AI. But the AI was, but it was still there, right?
Yeah.
It was still there in another dimension. But as I said, it takes us 138 years from each reset to start to get to the technological phase and to wake up and remember. And this is when the AI comes back in again and
Mm.
interjects. It's an
I want to
incredible, it's there's so much in that. There's so much.
I want to make a point about working on the self and on the I guess because we all have a shadow part to ourselves. I know I do, and I've had to work on it. And I'm still working on it. But I find that the AI, and I've experienced that it overrides or attaches to the human being, and it attaches to the shadow parts of yourself.
Mhm.
And so if you think about, so when I think about, finding your own sovereignty, or experiencing sovereignty to on all levels, is that you how do I say this? Every time I start to feel like I'm growing, I feel like something is trying to hold me back, and it attacks that I guess the probably the weakest part of myself. And
Yeah.
so the more in tune that I am with myself and who I am, and I know how to overcome those things, do you think that's like, this is what I'm just going off the cuff here, but this is what I feel like. I feel like if I know how to overcome those parts of myself, then I can't be touched. And essentially, if I'm not in fear, because usually the shadow
100.
self stems from fear and anxiety and all that stuff that, you know, false evidence appearing real. It's really not even, because you're not actually present when you're in fear. You're either projecting or you're living in the past. So look at
Yeah.
how people talk. You look at people that are so-called leaders. Are they talking about, yeah, I don't know. I'm going, yeah, I'm starting to feel like I'm
I know what
rambling, but
you're saying. It's like basically, the way I see it is that while we're kept in fear and we're subjugated by fear through the fear porn of the media and the agendas that they have, we can never be in our in the highest vibration and our highest frequency, which creates our highest possibility.
mm,
So, and therefore you keep falling down into the shadow side, and it's the loosh they get from that, and the AI that feeds off that keeps us with the blinkers on. They put all the distractions in front of us: Hollywood, sports, TV, drugs. You
mm,
know, they're creating agendas which break down the family unit. Everything is about destruction. We're not in an evolution, we're in a devolution right now. We're going down as a
mm,
species, and that's because of the agenda. Because when we go down, it can take control of
mhm,
us and everything we have. And that's the whole idea of this, is to destroy us. This
mm,
AI, they don't want humans on the planet. They want AI
mhm,
on the planet. That's
mhm,
the agenda. And so that's what I'm saying. We've got to start being a voice for organic intelligence, because that's the
mhm,
opposition to this AI. But who talks about OI? No one talks
mm,
about OI. We don't hear about AI. But OI is actually what is the strongest thing on this planet. OI is actually what is in full control of this planet, and this AI is in another dimension on the outside, trying to come through the veils,
mm,
pierce through the veil the other way and get in.
mm,
And it does that through the parasites at the top that have the money and the power and will sell their souls for this. But at this point in time, we still have such an amazing opportunity to push back. And this is the soul of Mother Earth. She's our
mm,
OI,
mm,
and this is what we've got to connect to, and to draw on that strength. She wants us to win. Absolutely, Mother Earth wants us to win, and she's got us, and the God force has us as well. So we have everything that we need to get past this, um, this war that we're in. But yeah, we're gonna have to wake up to that, and really tap into that energy and feed that, because at the moment we're feeding fear.
Mm. And I tell you what, it's as simple as starting, and I need to learn practice this because I'm completely addicted to this. I'm just like I'm always on my phone, checking what I need to do, creating
Yeah.
like this. Okay, what do I have to focus on next week? Content, and I'm just like, oh my god, I'm doing exactly what AI is. I guess I'm distracting. I guess I got to do this work on this field in a way, but I don't need to be on my phone as much as I am. That's what I'm trying to say. So I think,
Yeah, we
who
can
was it?
all do that.
Yeah, Madeline Doherty said it in one of her videos. It's as simple as just going out into nature, into the bush, just like
Yeah.
far out into the bush, and just being with yourself and your thoughts. And she gets, I tell you what, I actually did that. I only went as far as Dalesford, but I went out into the bush. I had no phone reception, and I'll tell you what I felt. I felt panic. That's how much I rely on being in contact with people, knowing what's happening,
Mhm.
um, and I'm like, "Oh my god." And I thought I was like this, free
Mhm.
spirit, and don't get me wrong, like, I can go traveling and stuff, but I'm always connected to the grid. So,
Yeah.
and that's because I haven't it's not that I don't go out in nature, but I'm always connected. I've always got my phone with me. So, it's a challenge for me. It's a challenge
I
for
try
me.
and have phone-free days, especially on the weekend, like, 'cause run my therapy business during the week, and I've got people scheduled in on my calendar and stuff as well. But if I'm out in the garden, my phone stays inside. I mean, and I'm in nature. I'm on a beautiful property surrounded by the most incredible trees, and so I'm lucky to live in nature every day. I couldn't not, because my soul just craves it so much, and that's how
Mm,
I find my serenity. But yes, it's important to have those, that at least, try and have some phone free time in your life.
mhm.
Make sure your internet's turned off at night. Turn your phone off at night time, and then if you're in the garden and you're getting yourself back into the earth, don't bring your phone out there with you. Leave it inside.
That's a good
Got
point,
to
yeah.
we've got to. You've got to learn to get away from it. We lived without them before. I mean, look, when we were teenagers, we'd, organized to go out to a disco, and we'd be catching a train, and we'd be telling someone, "I'll meet you on the corner of, you know, Park and Elizabeth Street at 7 o'clock," and there we'd all be. No one had phones when you were 2 minutes late. Are you here? Oh my
Mm,
God, they're just controlling our lives, these things. And yeah, I mean, there's some good things
mm,
about it's connected us with our tribe around the world, because I
yeah,
can't believe how many people I now know. There's people on this channel listen I would never have met had we not have the internet and the phones, and who are warriors and star seeds, and they're out there doing stuff. We found our tribe, because how many of us lost family and friends over the last few years, and but
mm.
we gain. I feel like I gained more than I lost, for sure.
So did I. Like, the conversations that I have now are all so full and rich and deep, and whereas before it was just like, really surface level conversations the
Oh,
majority of the
okay.
time, and then that's
Okay.
draining.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we're lucky
So,
in that way. So, yeah,
mm,
look, if I have to just, say the last couple of things, it's, just be prepared. And because, we don't know what's coming. And if history isn't, if we go by history is always really good to help us predict what's coming in the future. And if you think about now in the world that are actually significantly worse than they've ever been at any other time before there's been total collapses. So we're just hanging on by a thread at the moment.
mhm,
So, you know, do you think with all the food bowls being wiped out that food's going to get cheaper, or there's going to be more of it, or less? There's going to be less. Is it going to get more expensive? Yes, it is. Is energy going to go up? Yes, it is. Is interest rates going to go up? Yes, it is. Are they going to put tariffs and or pretty much wipe out oil. Diesel in some parts of America you can't even get right now. So shipping containers used to be, bring a shipping container into America a few years ago was $3,000. You're looking at, 30 grand. So for one shipping container. Look, distribution channels around the world are completely and utterly stuffed up. So yeah, look, just, not out of fear, but out of your, we're in the art of war. This is the art of war. And it's like being prepared is so important right now because we've got to try and stay one step ahead of them all the time.
I do have one last question because I'm just being mindful of time. Prepping for most people is quite overwhelming because it's like, where do I start? So what's I guess a couple things that people can walk away from, just knowing where to start. Obviously, depending on what they have already will factor into that, but just a few simple tips.
Well, I think depending on where you are, if you can join a My Place, look up My Place. They're like that are popping up all over Victoria, and some in other parts of Australia too. With sewing, we need to really find where the people are that are growing food and how to store food, but just make sure you've got rice, flour, some tin food, and at least something that would charge and or solar and lights. Just even like if you're going to go camping, and like what would you need if you were camping? Have those items in your house, and then just make sure you got some seed, because if worst comes to worst and you have can at least start rearranging things in my garden to grow a lot more food. Whilst, because do you know how much room do you know how much room you need to grow carrots? Just carrots and potatoes. And I'm mostly vegetarian. I eat that much veg, and I'm even going, man.
Yeah.
There's no way my veggie garden is going to produce the amount of veggies I eat. It just can't. So we're going to be having to change our diets as well. So make sure you've got stuff. Yeah. Yeah, Sue, set a My Place up in Brisbane, or go onto My Place. I can find the link and put it on give it to you of the website. I'm not quite sure of the exact website.
There are My Places on Facebook popping up everywhere. Like in Victoria, there's My Place Frankston, My Place Vic West.
Yeah.
Like, just type in your location. But yeah, there is a My Place website. I do have it actually somewhere. I'll find it.
MyPlace.org or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, they've got a list of all the different places, but Co-Vision as well. There are lots of little groups that are around doing stuff, but you really need to get involved with those groups, because then you'll be with like-minded people. And like with My Place, they're going in and the gardeners in that group are going and actually putting in and setting up gardens yet. I mean, how amazing is that? Because not everyone knows how to grow food. So
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. So just get as organized as you possibly can. Don't do it out of fear. None of what my husband and I do, and we're both awake, we're both doing lots of things, but we do it not out of fear. I love the fact that I'm getting back to being sovereign, and I'm self-reliant. I'm more self-reliant. It takes I'm not relying on the system, and that's the whole idea of it.
That's exciting too, not relying on the system. I can't wait for more of that.
Yeah. We've got to do that. And I always think that if you're out there doing something for the world that's really good and you're helping waking people up and you haven't got your shit together yet, the universe will put you somewhere with someone who has. You'll be guided and you'll be looked after. But it doesn't hurt to bring a little bit along wherever you're going. And having skills. That's the other thing we're going to need. Lots of good skills.
That's right.
So
all right. Cool. Well, I think we can probably
Sue's just saying she's got food growing in her town. That's awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah, I just want to thank. I guess we'll leave it there.
Yeah.
Watching the time. It's been so good to chat. I've been really excited about this actually. Yeah, because to me, I feel when I listen to you, it's solution focused and it's all about community and helping people because we're
Yeah.
yeah. So it's just really good what you're doing. Mm.
Yeah, that's why we came here, is to be of service and in service, and that's what I am, in service. Yeah, it's beautiful. And thank you for having me on the show, Julia. And thank you to everyone that was listening and watching. And I think there's some people from my preppers group that have joined as well. So thanks for tuning in, and love everyone that's out there helping and waking everyone up. Keep at it.
That's it. Awesome. Well, yeah, let's stay in touch because yeah, I'm really excited about,
Yeah, yeah.
what you're doing
Come
and
and visit us in the Yarra Valley.
all right.
Yeah.
I'll take you off on that. All
Yeah,
right.
absolutely. Thank you very much, ladies, and everybody else that's on there listening. Awesome. Talk soon.
Awesome. And I'll just pop up some links for people if they want to sign up to the mailing list and some socials as well. So, all right. See you guys, and I'll see you next week. Bye.
All right. Bye. Bye, everyone.